Ayo, welcome back. It's Ty Ty. So every DAW has their own stock plugins, but I believe that one of the biggest slept-on secrets of Pro Tools is what I'm about to show you today. So on this track I'm showing today, it's called Peasants. It's currently out. I'll go ahead and drop the link below. Y'all can peep it. But I'll go ahead and give you a little taste, and then I'll hop in and I'll show you what I'm talking about.
I know. Hear them screaming, they some kings. All I see is peasants. Bet you never seen a brick, barely move a feather. I was out here selling pills, never went to college.
So that thing's sliding. But alright, so the plugin that I'm talking about, I ain't gonna build a hype, I'm just gonna hop right to it. Lo-fi. There are so many things that you can do with this plugin, and it comes stock. And it just, I'm gonna show you the main two things that I really be using it for. So on, say, a lead, and most of the time I'll go ahead and just put it in my vocal bus, and typically it will be right after my first compressor. And it basically, what it does is you can drop the sample rate or the sample size, and that will give you kind of like an analog feel. But from what I use it for, is it just really boosts a little bit of that warmth and that high end, and you don't really have to do anything to it. You don't have to pull up an EQ. You don't have to do anything else other than just drop the sample size. So go ahead and give you a taste here one more time without it.
I know. Hear them screaming, they some kings. All I see is peasants. Bet you never seen a brick, barely move a feather.
Now with it.
I know. Hear them screaming, they some kings. All I see is peasants. Bet you never seen a brick, barely move a feather. I was out here selling pills, never went to college. I was hanging with the shotters, kicking with the robbers.
Now, one more time, listen very closely. It's subtle, but it does make a nice little difference.
I know. Hear them screaming, they some kings. All I see is peasants. Bet you never seen a brick, barely move a feather. I was out here selling pills, never went to college. I was hanging with the shotters, kicking with the robbers.
So I'll go ahead and just show it sample rate all the way up.
I know. Hear them screaming, they some kings. All I see is peasants. Bet you never seen a brick, barely move a feather. I was out here selling pills, never went to college. I was hanging with the shotters, kicking with the robbers. Rock a gun like a watch, go nowhere without it.
So it's very subtle, but I really like just kind of the feeling that it brings to it. Now, one thing I will say is I don't like tracking with this plugin on, because it does add some like analog kind of noise, so it's kind of weird for that. But in the After Effects, it does really pull together. And I mean, if you wanted to add some saturation and distortion / noise, you can do that too. I can go ahead and feed a little bit of that in.
I know. Hear them screaming, they some kings. All I see is peasants. Bet you never seen a brick, barely move a feather. I was out here selling pills, never went to college. I was hanging with the shotters, kicking with the robbers.
So without it.
I know. Hear them screaming, they some kings. All I see is peasants. Bet you never seen a brick, barely move a feather. I was out here selling pills, never went to college. I was hanging with the shotters, kicking with the robbers.
So you see a little bit of grit that really brings to it. It's all flavor based, and that's not something I would do on every song, but especially if it's something that's a little more gritty, a little more just kind of grungy sounding, you can really kind of bump those up there on the end and go from there. Now, you definitely want to be careful with the distortion and the noise, because it can get too much too quick. So I'll just bump up the noise a little bit.
I know. Hear them screaming, they some kings. All I see is peasants. Bet you.
See what I mean? So unless you're specifically wanting something like that in there, maybe on like an instrument or something like that, maybe, but I definitely probably wouldn't put that on vocals. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and pop it in on some background vocals, and I'll show you another little technique that I like using it. So just hear what it sounds like by itself. Alright, so one thing you can do is you can just kind of drop the sample rate, and it makes it sound deeper. It's basically kind of like pitching it down, but it's not super crazy. I've definitely seen some videos where people talk about Travis Scott doing this to like ad-libs and stuff like that, because when you mix it with like your reverb and your delay, you can get that real Travis Scotty background vocal going on. So One more time without it. Now with it. See what I mean? It's just like you just bumped it down a couple notches. That's it. So let's go ahead and maybe get a little creative and bring up some distortion, a little bit of saturation without it. Now with it. All right, just so we have something that is a little more consistent on playing the whole way through, I will go ahead and put this on the vocal bus, just so, yeah, a little more convenient. All right, so now with the sample rate off to start.
Hear them screaming, they some kings. All I see is peasants. Bet you never seen a brick, barely move a feather. I was out here selling pills, never went to college. I was hanging with the shotters, kicking with the robbers. Rock a gun like a watch, go nowhere without it.
So definitely on some background vocals, you could really get crazy with that. But I mean, there's other things that you could do. You know, let's see if we just drop it down a bit further and see what it does.
Hear them screaming, they some kings. All I see is I was out here selling pills, never went to college. I was hanging with the shotters, kicking.
So I definitely don't like it all the way down there. But there really is. There's so many different things that you could use this plugin on. And to me, it is hands down the best and most slept on Pro Tools stock plugin. So if you got Pro Tools, I suggest you fire that thing up. Experiment with it. See where you can put it. And if you don't use Pro Tools, what's your doll's biggest secret? Let me know in the comments below. But as always, this is Ty bringing you radio quality music from home. Let's build together, grow together. I'm going to catch you next week. Peace.